Hello, we're Group 3 and we're here to discuss 4 aspects of consumer behaviour theory and apply them to an advert we have chosen. I will start by discussing emotions and motivation. Dan Harknett will then discuss attitudes and personality. Matt Carter will then bring in social class and lifestyle. And finally, Luke Edwards will explain the use of celebrity endorsement. For this advert, we have analysed Jaguar's Good to Be Bad TV advert, featuring Mark Strong, Tom Hiddleston and Sir Ben Kingsley. We've chosen this advert because it plays upon a wide variety of consumer behaviour perspectives and allows us to effectively demonstrate how these theories apply to marketing material, particularly TV advertisements. Jaguar has always been about more than making a car go from A to B. The iconic brand has been passionate about creating what they call art and moments that feed your soul through a manifestation of their passion. To truly do their hard work justice and somehow show all of this in one short TV advertisement would initially seem an impossible task, but through a series of inventive marketing techniques, we believe they've succeeded. The use of famous actors wearing flashy suits and flying private jets stirs the consumer's interest. Add in a sporty Jaguar with a spine-tingling soundtrack, and suddenly a whole new fantasy is portrayed to the receiver. We were thoroughly inspired by the way Jaguar seamlessly played on a variety of behaviour aspects to create an advert with so many interesting dimensions.
Have you ever noticed how in Hollywood movies all the villains are played by Brits?
Maybe we just sound right.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you, Mary.
We're more focused, more precise.
We're always one step ahead.
With a certain style, an eye for detail.
And we're obsessed by power. Stiff upper lip is key.
And we all drive Jaguars.
Oh, yes. It's good to be bad.
To start off with, we will discuss emotion and motivation. Babin and Harris define emotion as a specific psychobiological reaction to a human appraisal. Quester, Pettigrew and Hawkins outline 12 different consumer emotional states. Throughout Jaguar's Good to Be Bad advert, there are numerous features that trigger positive emotional states. Firstly, the advert features a Jaguar F-Type sports car in action, which is accompanied by dramatic cinematic style background music. This combination aims to create a sense of activation and excitement amongst consumers. Additionally, the aesthetics of the Jaguar F-Type may be appealing to some consumers, creating a sense of desire. These emotions have been used by Jaguar to aid in establishing their brand into the minds of consumers and thereby increasing the chances that they may consider buying a Jaguar in the future. Moving on, another important focus of Jaguar's advert is to motivate consumers into potentially buying a Jaguar. Blythe defines motivation as an internal force that encourages people to act in a specific way. As I mentioned previously, the advert exhibits the Jaguar F-Type in an attractive fashion and could potentially bring about external motivation. Additionally, the A-list celebrity stating that we all drive Jaguars is yet another motivating feature. This classification of motivation is called emotional motivation. Blythe defines emotional motivation as motives having to do with feelings about the brand. These motivating factors aim to create a positive consumer emotion of the Jaguar brand and therefore motivates the consumer to choose a Jaguar when considering buying a new car. Finally, Jaguar is expressing its brand social class through this advert by associating its brand with features such as private jets, glamorous dress codes and mansions. These features could potentially encourage self-improvement motivation amongst Jaguar's consumers. Self-improvement motivation is motivation that is aimed at changing the current state to a level that is more ideal, not at simply maintaining the current state. Therefore, consumers who want to improve their own lifestyle or want to be seen as upper class may be motivated by this advert to buy Jaguar in order to reach this status.
Attitudes are long-lasting, and once an attitude is set, they're usually very hard to change. They represent a general evaluation of people, objects, advertisements or issues within the current news or business space. To the right of me is the features of attitudes table. Attitudes are learned, not instinctive. They're a relationship between a person and an object. An attitude isn't neutral, it has a direction and intensity. They're not observable, and it's not a behaviour but a predisposition. They are also consistent and hard to change. Attitudes have three main components: affect, behaviour and cognitive. It's known as the ABC model of attitudes. Affect stands for how a consumer feels about an issue or object. Behaviour is the consumer's response or intentions to do with something about the attitude. And C is cognitive, the consumer's belief or knowledge about an issue or object. Two questions should be the focus when tackling advertisement and buyer behaviour. Firstly, why do people buy certain types of brands or products? And secondly, how does personality influence purchasing? Modern day technology has bridged the gap between consumers and their products even further, asking whether or not the products and brands we choose to buy and associate ourselves with define who we are. Freud first proposed his concept of personality and was one of the most influential people of the 20th century. He suggested that our human behaviour is the result of interactions among three component parts of the mind: the id, the ego and the superego. All these factors are strongly embedded into the advert Jaguar has put out, as they target a specific type of buyer. Attitudes and a person's intentions can be interpreted by marketing professionals to give them a better overview of current market trends and consumer attributes. However, they cannot fully predict the market and shouldn't be relied on with 100% confidence. It only estimates the consumer buyer behaviour. Opinions differ strongly from attitudes. They should not be compared or analysed together. An opinion is overt, a vocalised expression, and is a person's point of view, i.e. how they see things. Coincidentally, an attitude is how you act on the situation or behaviour. The only way these two factors are sort of related is that your attitude can depend on your opinions. The tagline for the advert is an attitude, it's good to be bad. It has direction rather than just an opinion. Obsessions can form from an attitude. Being obsessed with the car and brand, like the three villains are obsessed by power, is a metaphor. Celebrities can endorse products that are targeted at people with lower dogmatism levels. Dogmatism is stating your opinion in a strong way whilst not accepting anyone else's. Adverts who address those with low dogmatism levels do not overload the customer with product information. Instead, they just associate the product with a high achiever or idol. There are three forms of hierarchy that can reflect an advert. First one is standard learning hierarchy. This results in a strong brand loyalty and assumes higher customer involvement. Secondly, low involvement hierarchy. Consumers do not have a strong brand preference and can be easily swayed by simple stimulus and response connections. And thirdly, experimental hierarchy. Consumers act on the basis of their emotional reactions, and attitudes can be influenced by intangible products and attributes. The Jaguar advert is using standard learning hierarchy to its advantage. The British brand needs a substantial amount of money to buy into and reflects the strong brand of Jaguar. Maslow's theory, on the other hand, when applying his self-actualization theory through the means of hierarchy of needs, is also subtly implied throughout the advert. There is no in-your-face message forcing you to buy the F-Type. However, it's reflecting that if you own one, extra perks are also available as you're assumed to be on a high income bracket. The imagery of a private jet, helicopter, mansion and high-end suits all adds to the common stereotypes of a Jaguar owner. Jaguar is suggesting that in order to self-actualise or reach that stage, it's beneficial to, in the first stage, which is psychological needs, own a Jaguar. Jaguar are also suggesting in order to be the right fit for the new car, you need an outgoing British personality. Stiff upper lip is key. The attitude is a lot harder to change than the opinion, as it has direction and strength and is reflected by the strong Jaguar brand. The personality a person has is the overriding impact, as dogmatism levels and a person's attitude when it comes to the decision of buying a Jaguar require those with a larger salary. As mentioned, the advert doesn't overload on technical jargon, as the person is buying a Jag for the status that comes with owning one. This may put others off from buying into the Jaguar brand, and this attitude/stereotype could be hard to change in future adverts.
Classes are divisions within society composed of individuals sharing similar values, interests and behaviours. Marketers can highlight these specific classes within society in order to utilise as a target market for their product. Within this advert, Jaguar have hinted towards a particular class or group of consumers of whom they envisage to have an interest in their particular product. The protagonist proceeds to list certain characteristics throughout the video, highlighting having a certain style, being obsessed by power, and of course, they all drive Jaguars. It is widely considered that social class is the determinant of consumption behaviour, and as such is often considered more important than income in affecting consumer behaviour. The idea is that there are many more factors that are present when forming social classes, which can have more bearing on buying decisions than just an individual or family's income. That is not to say that, when buying into a brand such as Jaguar, income is not important, as Jaguar themselves state that they remain at the forefront of the luxury automotive industry. But, as Ben Kingsley said in the advert, you do need to have a certain style. This implies that you need to be of a particular type of consumer class, and that more factors, independent of income, such as attitudes or values and preferences, have a more convincing impact on choosing when to purchase a Jaguar product. Dependent on which factors are selected to form the social classes, income can become important. For example, classes can often be organised according to income, wealth and education. In this circumstance, it can be assumed that the higher the class, the higher the income, and, in turn, the more disposable income there is available. This is when luxury items and brands such as Jaguar can be more realistically considered by the consumer. It depicts the product being driven through the streets and lights of central London, which can be seen to be targeting those consumers who live either in the centre of the capital or similarly in other large cities across the country. This is significant to note as the stereotypical person to live or work in and around such places tends to be a profession similar to a banker, businessman or other high-wage earning consumer. This would fit with Max Weber's theory that the rankings people develop are not one-dimensional, with some involving prestige, some power and some wealth and property. To have access to the private jets, helicopters and mansions, as seen in the advert, at least one of, if not all of Weber's categories has to be met. Again, Jaguar's purpose of showing all of this is to reflect the type of class and socio-demographic group they wish to attract. As you can see in this graph produced by the Office for National Statistics, consumer spending since the 2008 recession has increased by more than 11%. This cannot be solely due to the increased spending habits of the upper classes, therefore may indicate the growth and increased popularity of masstige products. Masstige products have recently been seen to bridge the mass and prestige markets by way of price point and perception. They are a premium quality product that mass shoppers find affordable and prestige shoppers will view as valuable but not cheap. Although we can't assume that Jaguar's products fit exactly with the idea of a product that is accessible to the mass markets or one that will even bridge the gap, if more prestige shoppers can view them as valuable, they may be able to entice more consumers, particularly if they can maintain the image of a more focused, more precise product which can always stay one step ahead.
Consumers receive information about new products from numerous sources, one of them being from those who are perceived as having trusted knowledge and expertise. A strong link has been observed between the credibility of a message's source and the consequent attitude of consumers. It's therefore important that marketers consider featuring these credible sources in their promotions because the opinion of experts appears more trustworthy. Marketers should, however, always use sources appropriately and match the credibility of the source with the features of the product. Inappropriate matches will not be effective and could potentially have negative effects by losing some of the brand's own credibility. Ohanian says the reason behind the popularity of celebrity advertising is that marketers believe messages being delivered by well-known personalities captures a high degree of attention. This can be strengthened by endorsing products through the celebrity's personification within some aspect of the product. The use of famous villains in the Jaguar advert links the cars to the exotic lifestyles we perceive them to have. Hoyer and McInnes say that generally, credible sources often have one or more of these major characteristics: trustworthiness, expertise and status. Trustworthy individuals are more likely to be believed, which ties in with the idea that people with expertise in a relevant field will be seen as a more credible source. Theorists, French and Raven, categorise the different types of social power that influence consumers. The ones we're particularly interested in are referent power, which is when consumers identify with or admire groups or individuals, and information power, where a consumer perceives someone to be knowledgeable about the issue. Our chosen advert plays on the perception that Hollywood villains are perceived as cool and that it's good to be bad. When Tom Hiddleston says we're more focused, more precise, it's suggesting that these people will choose to drive Jaguars. Reinforced by the status of this well-known actor, consumers are given the desire to reflect the image that these actors portray by driving a Jaguar. Opinion leaders refer to those who influence others and are often product class or domain specific. Although in reality Tom Hiddleston, Mark Strong and Ben Kingsley are actors and are likely to have no extensive knowledge on which cars are best in the market, Jaguar plays on the assumption that the characters that these A-list actors might play would drive Jaguars, which brings a very desirable image. In a study made by Hovland and Weiss, it was shown that consumers more actively change their attitudes when they perceived a source to be more credible and therefore believable. The conclusion of this study can be used as an invaluable tool for marketers, as utilising a credible source could prove extremely effective when changing customers' attitudes. For Jaguar, using A-list Hollywood movie stars to show off the new F-Type portrays the image that they would choose Jaguars, and only one will put the consumer in the same light. In another study by Hovland, the exploitation of such methods is seen to be limited. The study concluded that after a few weeks, the positive influence from these credible sources or negative effects from low credibility sources are extinguished. This again has significant implications on marketers when they consider the high cost of celebrity endorsement if their continued use produces diminishing returns. Another theory is that source attractiveness is where a consumer perceives the source of a message to be similar to themselves, and therefore persuasiveness of the source is enhanced. This is something that's utilised in the advert at the moment when the words "we're obsessed by power" are projected. This is followed brilliantly by the acceleration and crackle from the car's exhaust as it flaunts its power.
And we're obsessed by power!
It's at this moment that encourages consumers to make the link and relate to these villains as they realise that they too are obsessed by power, portrayed in the car. The two-step model of communication is a basic visual of how information is communicated to the receiver. The model assumes that opinion leaders pass on positive messages, but marketers must recognise the importance of ensuring they don't transmit the information in a negative manner, and hence contradict the message's intentions. Throughout the advert, these villains are seen to be living a cool lifestyle with helicopters and private jets, which gets the receiver's attention. And then Mark Strong finally reveals how you too can live a similar lifestyle. We all drive Jaguars. These powerful words link all of the advert's messages together to show that all of these well-known characters have one thing in common, and for the consumer to reflect the desirable image, all they need to do is own a Jaguar. Our evaluation of the Jaguar advert, It's Good to Be Bad. These are a reminder of the 4 key aspects that we've evaluated throughout the presentation. Thank you for listening.